5. Our fourth story in the countdown, we may be up to our ears in Vietnam metaphors, but this is actually about a British report suggesting the president wants more troops in Iraq, even as the rest of the country seems to want fewer. The president wants a, quote, last big push. According to sources familiar with the administration's deliberations cited by the newspaper The Guardian, that would mean an increase in U.S. forces by 20,000 soldiers, a recommendation which might also come from the Iraq Study Group. And a former senior administration official tells that newspaper the president may be alone on Iraq, but he does see the political endgame. Quote, Bush is in a state of denial about Iraq. Nobody else is anymore, but he is. He knows he's got less than a year, maybe 6 months to make it work. If it fails, I expect the withdrawal process to begin next fall. Meantime, White House officials have confirmed that the president has ordered an internal review of Iraq policy, but they claim it is not intended as an end run around the Iraq Study Group. Well, that's all right then. We'll just take your word for it. Let's call in Washington Post political reporter and columnist and MSNBC analyst Dana Milbank. Dana, good evening.
Evening, Keith.
Are we getting a clear picture of how the president sees his choices in Iraq now that Democrats are pounding at the door to postpone troop withdrawal and, in fact, increase troops, give this one last chance thing?
Well, it's been discussed for a while, and certainly John McCain has talked about this increase of 20,000 troops. Now, the Guardian story you mentioned was a little bit weaselly about it and said maybe possibly up to as many as 20,000. So we have to keep in perspective this would be an increase of 10 to 15%. Not exactly huge, not what a lot of people think would actually be necessary to turn the situation around there. And as General Abizaid pointed out yesterday, this is something that could only be done very temporarily. Even now, the military is completely overstretched, so we're talking about a few months here, so it's not completely inconsistent. Give it a last go, few months, not working, start the pullout.
According to that Guardian article, however weaselly it might have been, there was a four-point plan from the Baker-Hamilton panel, the ISG, that may be emerging here. More troops to secure Baghdad, more money to train Iraqi forces, as well as the previously leaked proposals, increase the regional cooperation, possibly even from Iran and Syria. Will Baker-Hamilton wind up giving the president political cover for this? Does the administration's internal review provide a backstop bit of political cover? What's the structure here?
Well, it's hard to know. I mean, you've got a situation where there are no good options, and the president is going to fumble forward and get the best option possible. It does provide cover in the sense that it's going to present a menu of options, and he can say that these options are all justified by the commission. On the other hand, his own internal study will allow him, as we have discussed previously, to say, well, it's actually my idea. It's not being forced upon me. So I think we have to realize that the Baker Commission is not going to be coming forward with some sort of a silver bullet here. They're going to say, here are 4 or 5 not-so-good options for you, Mr. President.
But if this is the option that he goes for, after the election results from last week, won't the Democrats and the administration fight the war about the war all over again? And who wins that politically as the Democrats are incoming in January?
Well, you'd think the Democrats really have to fight this fight and fight it very vigorously. I mean, on the one hand, they're quite fragmented. We saw, as you just mentioned, Jack Murtha voted down by his colleagues 2-1 today. Not exactly the strongest reaffirmation of their position on Iraq. But they are now in control of the Congress. They can't just sit back. They're in control of the purse strings. If they want to put their money where their mouths are, they can say, we are going to defund this war.
Is the kind of contrast that could develop in that period of political time something that would really benefit the Democrats? Could they call for some sort of immediate phased withdrawal, advocate the best strategy, put the pressure on the Iraq government, and yet not have to suffer the possible consequences of seeing that plan implemented since the president would never agree to it in the first place?
They could, and it comes down to the question of what they're really there for. It is the opportunity to score some political points here, but if we're going to take them at their word that, as Nancy Pelosi said just today, that she is dedicated to ending this war in Iraq, it's not really about scoring sort of the political point here, but about forcing the president's hand here, and they now actually have the tools to do that.
Is he going to accept that? I mean, this president does not like to have his hand forced, and although he may sometimes say that he understands what the realities are, that doesn't often translate into action.
Yeah, there's no indication that he will accept that. And of course, that he can veto whatever the Democrats come up with. But you can sort of see this coming together here. The president wants the face-saving gesture, saying, okay, we're going to make one last final push. If that doesn't work, perhaps the Democrats will accept that trade-off. They can still get the withdrawal plan. I mean, everybody is sort of coming to the same view that this isn't working, and everybody needs a face-saving way out.
Dana Milbank of the Washington Post and MSNBC, of course. Thanks as always, Dana.
Thanks, Keith.
A late reminder out of Iraq about how dire the security situation is there. 14 contractors kidnapped today south of Basra at a security checkpoint. Military officials telling NBC News that 4 of those taken are Americans working for a private security firm called the Crescent Security Group. Once again, the kidnappers posed as Iraqi police. Also tonight, a man